Additions to the agenda? Any additions to the agenda? Seeing none, I get someone to make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Councillor Dodds, all in favor? That is carried. 3.0, corrections or amendments. 3.1, March 18th, 2020, regular meeting of council minutes. Any issue there? March 18th, 2020, public hearing minutes bylaw 2020-3-D. Any issues there? Okay. 4.0 is the adoption. Can I get a motion to adopt 4.1, which is March 18th, 2020, regular meeting of council minutes? Councillor Gamana, all in favor? That is carried. And get a motion for March 18th, 2020, public hearing minutes bylaw 2020-3-D. Oh, Councillor Dodds, you were there. Oh, yeah.
No, I wasn't. Let us on.
So I don't even know if we can vote on it, but all in favor? There, okay. Everyone that was there voted in favor of it. 5.0 delegations, administrative updates. We do have our one delegation, Sergeant Matthews. If you could so graciously present the February 2020 stats, that would be greatly appreciated.
So, as you have seen, and as the last time I presented here, I kind of gave you an indication that we would be seeing this increase in stats with regards to the increase in property crimes and such, break and enters and thefts unders, because we did have a spike at that time. As I had alluded to the last time, we had about 20 of our prolific offenders that were out at the time. During the course of the month, we were able to, with the help of other detachments, Leduc, Thorsby, because these people have no borders, we were able to put them all back where they belong. Not sure how that's going to be looking in the future with the remand centers. There's some talk about them letting out some of the less violent offenders, which would be these people that are doing our property crimes. To date, they're still where they're supposed to be, but I'm not sure quite what's going to happen. So if they do start letting them out, I don't believe they're probably going to take the self-isolation seriously, so we may end up back with a spike again. However, as I said, once we got the majority of them into the remand center and taken care of, we did start seeing a decrease, but we won't see that until we actually get the March stats and such. So, with regards to, there was some questions that were asked not only at the last council meeting, but at the GMP meeting with regards to photos. Okay, I did some research on that, and the answer is an absolute no. We cannot release photos of people who have been charged or convicted of these, of our prolific offenders, basically. The only time that we can is for if they were warrants for arrest for a violent crime. We had to warn the public with regards to a violent offender being, having been picked up or released, or if we were searching for more victims or witnesses on some kind of a serious crime. So that was the answer with regards to that.
Can you release the names at least?
I have been releasing the names.
Oh, you can, just we can have the names,
Yeah,
just no photos.
Because of the fact that once the information has been laid, it is a matter of public record, so therefore anybody would have access to it. So when somebody has been arrested by us and an information has actually been laid, the charge has actually been laid and has been before the courts, we can release the names. And I have been doing that in our weekly media releases. So.
And where does that go? Like, where does it go that the public could see that these are the?
They can go through the court, go to the court and see who's basically, I guess, been picked up in Drayton Valley recently or whatever. It is public record once the information has been laid, so, yeah. As far as this whole pandemic thing goes, policing is a little bit different. We have noticed since a lot of this self-isolation, of course, an increase in more of the domestic style cases that we're responding to. And that just goes to show that people are being cooped up with each other. And a lot of times we have liquor or drugs that are involved with that as well. So a lot of the people that we have not ever heard from before or very sporadically are coming up. And it's not been any real violent crimes, but it's been more of a disturbance type thing that we're dealing with at this point in time. We're still trying to maintain our 6-foot distance, but that's very difficult in these times. And people, as I think you all are aware, because people are not used to maintaining that kind of distance, so that makes policing a little bit difficult. However, we have adjusted our schedules to ensure that we have better coverage. And by that, I mean, for us, we're not coming in contact with the next shift coming on, so we have a delay there. However, we do have our GIS section. They are providing coverage when we are also not out there policing. So we're actually, it's almost better the way that we're doing things right now in the interim. We haven't had any cases within the detachment, which is a good thing. So basically, we are just, criminal fingerprints are still going on. We have to continue with that type of thing. The courts, however, since they've shut down with regards to trials and regular appearances, that's also thrown a bit of a wrench into our normal day-to-day system. But we're working through it as everybody is, so.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councillor Wheeler.
More just I guess a process question. In terms of testing, do you guys have access to testing for yourselves?
We do, actually. They
okay,
just
good.
implemented something as of, I believe, yesterday, saying that any of the frontline workers, which includes, the health professions as well as firefighters, anybody who may come into contact, if anybody displays any symptoms at all, we can get tested right away. So.
Great.
And anybody who has any symptoms, they have been advised not to, we've put them into the 14-day self-quarantine, so that's automatic.
Councillor Gamana first, and then Councillor Ballas.
Yeah, just along the question along that line. Do you have masks and gloves and stuff like that in supply?
Yes, they provide us with all the personal protective equipment we need. We have bunny suits if we need. We've got respirator masks. We've got the N95 masks as well as gloves and Purell, that,
Excellent, thanks.
stuff. So.
Obviously, there's going to be a great backlog in the courts.
Yes, there is.
So are they making arrangements, or what's their plan for future? Are they going to increase the number of court dates?
I presume that they will. Right now, they haven't really, we haven't had any clear direction with regards to what's going to happen in the future, because we don't know how long this is going to last. So right now, they're saying, okay, don't set anything for court dates before June 16th. But, I mean, in a week from now, they could say, okay, no, that's changed to July 15th. Or, it's a day-to-day, week-by-week type thing. So yes, it is going to create a backlog, and I have no idea what that is how that's going to play out in the future. We have not been advised or anything. So it's just, like I say, a day-to-day, week-by-week thing. We just keep doing our job, so.
Councillor Gamana, and then Councillor Dodds.
Just regarding the closure of RCMP, so if there's a committee member want to file a complaint, they can call, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, and is there any other way, or they can send an email, or what's the process now?
Basically, they just have to they can still call the office.
Yeah.
Or they can call 911 if they need to. And we are still responding to complaints. For the protection of our support staff, we have closed the doors, so people are not able to come and complain face-to-face. However, they are able to access us by phone and like I say, through 911, so yes.
And these services like record checks and stuff, temporary
Which?
record checks, like the criminal.
It is done on a case-by-case basis, dependent on what it's for.
Okay.
So since, you know, the majority, like if it's for just a volunteer type thing, well, there's none of that going on now, so the urgency is not going to be there. If it were for something that was going to be of an urgent nature, we would make sure that we got that done.
Excellent. Thank you.
Counselor Dodds?
So when you're issuing a ticket or something and you have to write a date, like you said, June 15th or something, are you able to go back and change that date, or do you have to guess, or how does that, or does it get thrown out, or how does that work
I
then?
imagine it's probably gonna get thrown out at the end of the day, so.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah. What we are trying to do is not setting like a ticket date for like June 16th, but setting it for further down the line, just because we don't know where this is going to, how long this is gonna last, so. It's the safest way to do that rather than setting a date and keeping, you know, pushing it forward. It's easier to do it with a criminal case because we can definitely change those dates. But with things like tickets, it's a little bit more difficult, so.
Okay. Counselor Gamana?
About, physical distancing and all that guidelines that been provided from HS, what kind of role are CMP, playing on that? And, is that something that, you're sending to the community?
Yeah, we are definitely doing the physical distancing. Again, it's very difficult when we're going to calls because people don't want to maintain that same physical distancing. However, we're doing our best to keep that. When it comes down to tickets, we may be stopping people. We're not necessarily going to be coming in, we're not going to be coming in close contact with them unless we absolutely have to, right? So we are doing the best that we can, especially in the environment that we have, to maintain that so that we keep the safety and health of our officers good, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Counselor Peebles?
What about enforcement? Is there tickets going out for people breaking self-isolation, or I guess not self-isolation, mandatory isolations? Because I've heard rumors, but I don't know if they're true.
To date, we have not written any. We're still waiting for direction on that. I know, like with the RCMP, as far as that goes, I don't think we've actually experienced anybody who is totally against, like, that we know is supposed to be self-isolating, who is not. We have our homeless population, of course, which is another whole side of things, and I know we're working with the homelessness coordinator in order to come up with some kind of ideas so that we can take care of everybody but yeah, that's.
Counselor Peebles?
And just one more question. So let's say you guys release the names and somebody took it upon themselves to go on Facebook and find out who that person is, and that picture happened to end up in a paper. Is that how other people are getting around it? Is that how this has been happening? Because there are communities that do put it out there. So I'm just saying, I know I can understand logistically that you guys yourself wouldn't do it, but are you saying that it can't happen or that you cannot do it?
I'm saying I'm going to take the fifth on that one.
All right.
I would recommend that. That's not a territory I want to get into.
I have one question, just from a resident. This goes back about a month, and so obviously all the shops are closed, so it's probably not relevant. So I had a citizen come to me and say they weren't able to get through to the local detachment, and then they called 911 when someone was in their store, and 911 said that's not an emergency per our definition. And so this person was a little bit upset because obviously they felt that their person was in danger. And so what advice can I give to this said person? So they did try calling the local detachment and weren't able to get through. Calling 911, they said, no, we can't help you. And then, so they ended up calling their husband, who then came down and
Yeah.
dealt with the situation.
I would have to look into that particular situation because there's no reason why they should, I mean, we get called for 911 calls for an awful lot of other different types of even more minor things, and they're calling us and letting us know, so I have no idea
Okay.
why,
So maybe
after
it's just-
calling 911, that they would be told that that's not.
So maybe it was a one-off, the
It-
particular
it-
operator that called in.
It could be. I would have to look
Okay.
into the specific case in order to find out, and the date, so that I could actually look into it and find out, but
Maybe I'll just tell them to talk with more hysteria in their voice when they call in.
I guess.
Okay, all right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much for taking the time to come in.
Thank you.
On to our decision items. 6.1, Utility Payment Deferral Plan. Ms. Weber.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. All right, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and in an effort to provide relief to residents, Town Council has directed administration to offer residents a utility payment deferral plan for 90 days. Following the 90 days, outstanding amounts will be divided up so that residents can pay it off interest-free on the last 6 bills of 2020. Administration will work with residents who are in arrears of paying off penalties prior to March 24th, but no further than January 2020. The utility bill includes waste collection, water, and sewer charges. Bills will continue to be distributed to residents as per the normal schedule. No penalty fees or service disconnections will take place from March 24th to June 24th, 2020. Potential motions: the council approve a 90-day utility payment deferral plan with no penalties charged between March 24th, 2020 and June 24th, 2020, and that administration work with residents who are in arrears of paying off penalties prior to March 24th, 2020, but no further than January 1, 2020, sorry. I apologize, that should be January 1, 2021 as a correction.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions for administration? All right, is there a counselor that would like to make a motion on this decision item? Counselor Wheeler.
Thank you. I move that council approve the 90-day utility payment deferral plan with no penalties charged between March 1st, 2020 and June 24th, 2020. Did I say 24? 24 and 24. And that administration work with residents who are in arrears of paying off penalties prior to March 24th, 2020, but no further than January 1st, 2021.
Actually, no, I believe that should be 2020. Because administration work with residents who are in arrears of paying their off penalties, so we are going backwards. Yeah, so that should have been 2020.
Friendly amendment is accepted.
So it is January 1st, 2020. So we're talking about going backwards. All right. Any comments, questions, or debate on this particular motion? Counselor Wheeler?
I think it's a great idea. I really like that we're working to support our residents in wherever they are at, but I want to say that I really appreciate the thought of administration working to pay with people who have penalties from before. That I think that's important that we do that anyway, to work with our residents on all fronts, and that this came up because of COVID and us dealing with it, but we see it as a bigger picture and important for our community to be reaching out, and I really appreciate that. So.
Yeah. Anything else? Yeah, I certainly appreciate administration bringing this forward. I know we've been having some conversations in the background about what we can do, and this is, I think, the first step and one that has more of an immediate impact on some of our residents that will be facing financial hardships in the very near future, if not already. I do think there probably will be a little bit more to come, mainly in terms of some of the infrastructure projects with ensuring local businesses have the opportunity to do some of the work around Drayton Valley. So I look forward to seeing that, but this is the first concrete piece that we have available to bring to council, and we'll do so. And thank you for bringing it forward, and I'm in full support of it. So if there's no other comments, questions, or debate, the motion is to approve the 9-day utility payment deferral and for administration to work with residents who are in arrears. All in favor? That is carried. 6.2 is parks equipment replacement. Ms. Weber.
I will
Or
talk to
Mr.
this,
Russo.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you for affording us the opportunity to bring this item to you again at the March the 18th GMP. We gave council a slight presentation in terms of what the status is of our equipment for parks as well as for our winter operations. So what you have before you this morning is a Ventrac model 4500 that you can buy certain attachments that will allow you to do summer works, meaning brooming, sweeping, as well as cutting of grass at different inclinations and slopes that will also meet the safety requirements that we have fallen short on to some extent because our equipment is not suited to do certain slopes and to manage it from a grass cutting perspective. Similarly to that, you'll see on the quotation that's attached, there's also attachments that we can use for winter, like the V-blade. So the machine is a dual purpose. It's not just for one season. It can be used all through the year. And the detachments or attachments can easily be attached and detached by one person. And so the time is cut down, which normally took us more than an hour sometimes in winter. You can do this now within 5 to 10 minutes once you get really au fait with the equipment. We are proposing that we replace two of our existing pieces, so that brings our equipment up to 8 again, which will help us to be able to undertake the level of service that council is expecting and have set for us late last year. That being said, the equipment is in the order of about, as you can see, each unit is about $62,830, which includes the slope gauge, the wheel kits, the dual mowers or the broom and the V-blade, as well as the tractor itself with all the attachments. It's an enclosed cab with all the necessary requirements. What this will do is that it will improve the working conditions, of course, safety, which is the most paramount of all, and we can do more with less, and it's easily used by any type of operator with minimal training. So with that, I'd be open for questions and discussions.
Any questions for administration? Councillor Peebles?
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Rousseau, I think, I don't remember all the details, but I do remember you talking about this being a safer machine as well for mowing. Can you give a little bit more information on that again?
Thank you, Mr. Peebles. These machines are designed to have up to 30-degree slopes. Currently, I think we can only go up to 15, and we do have slopes within our stormwater ponds in certain areas where it's in excess of 15. And not to revisit the sad situation that happened in the town, our equipment is not suited for that, and we have a large scope of work that is in excess of 15 degrees of slopes. And these machines will satisfy that.
Any other questions for administration? Okay, is there a councillor that would like to make a motion? Councillor Peebles.
Thank you, Worship. I move that council accept and approve the proposed purchase of 2 Ventrac Model 4500 tractors as presented.
All right, any comments, questions, or debate? Councillor Gamana.
Yeah, just regarding I guess the efficiencies of these models or these new equipment, would there be some efficiencies that we can find with the current operations?
Councillor Kamana, absolutely the short answer is yes, and the reason being that as we said, the coupling and the detachment is quicker, so that gives you at least 20 minutes to 40 minutes lead time to get back onto the job. At the same time, the ease of use is much easier as well, and also the width of it will allow us to be able to cut a greater area at any given time. So the short answer is yes.
Thank you.
All right, anything else? So, yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with these, and everything I hear is all very positive, but I think specifically, as you touched on and as Councillor Peebles mentioned, some of the safety aspects, we need to ensure that we have the right equipment for the job, and we do have areas within our community that require specialized equipment, and not only does this satisfy that need, but it also adds that efficiency, as you mentioned. So I think it's very positive. Obviously, there's a capital upfront cost, but that cost will be realized over the next few years as we introduce these into our fleet. So if there's nothing else, the motion is to accept the approval of the purchase. Oh, sorry, Councillor Ballas.
Thank you. I just noted that it says the quote expires January 11th, 2020. Is that still the case, or?
Yeah. with the COVID interventions that we had, we spoke to the suppliers and they were willing to carry the quote for another couple of weeks at least. So we're within the time frame, even though the quote says January. So we're good with the pricing.
All right. So if there's nothing else, Councillor Dodds.
So usually, like, what is the lifespan of a piece of equipment like this? And if it does break down, is there somewhere local we can service it, or does it have to go to town?
Sure, Councillor Dodds, good point. We will have, this is one of the criteria we looked at, because our existing equipment, just to give a bit of background, when they break down, we will wait up to sometimes 10 working days. This will cut it down to maximum probably 2 days if that's the case. And so that's the one benefit of it as well. How long does it last? Normally there's a number of hours that determine the replacement schedule. But typically, these equipment work pretty hard. If you get good 4.5 to 5 years out of them and well maintained, you can probably stretch it to 7 to 8 years. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? I'm going to start talking again. So, all right. So the motion is that council accept and approve the proposed purchase. All in favor? That is carried. Item 6.3 is a Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board member-at-large appointment. Is this you, Ms. Weber?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board, established under Town Bylaw 2019-15B, calls for appointment of a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 8 members at large, which each serve a 3-year term. There are currently 3 3-year term positions available on the board. The vacant positions were advertised in the Drayton Valley and District Free Press, on the Town of Drayton Valley website, and on social media. 3 applications were received from Ms. Sandra Blades, Ms. Catherine Hickory, and Ms. Colleen Schoeninger. The Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board interviewed and approved the appointment for Sandra Blades, but was unable to conduct interviews with the other applicants at this point. Therefore, only one application from Ms. Sandra Blades is being presented to Council for consideration today. There are no budgetary implications for this, and alignment with legislation is the Alberta Libraries Act, Section 4.4, and the Library Board Bylaw 2019-15B.
All right. Any questions for administration? So I think if everyone recalls that we did do some appointments not that long ago to the maximum number, but since then we have had the library change their bylaws, and we are now allowed, I think, 10 appointments instead of 7, something like that. And as we did have more people interested in sitting on the board than we had spots, so this is now bringing back Ms. Blades' application after that adjustment has been made. So, I'll go Councillor Ballas and then Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. For the other 2 positions, are they re-advertising, or are they following up with the interviews for the other 2 applicants?
Oh, Councillor Dodds, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, they will be advertising for that. I think that this was brought to us back in October for the Sandra one, and it was just received as information or something, I believe. And then the change was because at the time there was other members that had shown an interest. So once that change had happened, and once this happens, then it goes back to the board, and we'll see the other 2 come forward.
Just to follow up, are these town residents, or are they both?
I'm not 100% sure. Like Sandra is, Colleen is
She
not.
is, yeah, Sandra's Town of Drayton Valley, because it's checked off, Town of Drayton Valley.
Oh, yes, then, yeah, they're either from the town or the county.
All right. Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, I'll ask for a councillor to make a motion. Councillor Gamana.
Yeah, I would like to make this motion that council appoint Ms. Sandra Blades as a member at large to Drayton Valley Municipal Library Board for 3-year term expiring October 31st, 2022. Thank you.
All right, is there any comments, questions, or debate on that? Councillor Dodds.
I just want to say that I'm excited to have Sandra on board. I know she's been waiting impatiently to get onto the board, so I'm looking forward to her coming onto the team, and yeah, just excited to see her there.
I think it's worth noting that she appears to be left-handed as well. All right, so if there's no other comments, questions, or debate, the motion is that council appoint Ms. Sandra Blades. All in favor? Corey, did you put up your hand? I didn't see. All right, so that is the end of our decision items. It's only 9:33. All right, so we'll go to our department reports. 7.1, Planning and Development. Mr. Ellis.
Good morning, Mayor Dirksen and members of council. So planning and development, the MDP and LEB review is going along quite nicely. Our survey is online, which you're probably aware of that. Alternative public engagement methods have been determined in light of COVID-19. Phase 1 is complete, which includes layout review for the land use bylaw. Right now, ISL is starting to draft MDP policies and the procedural regulations for the land use bylaw. And next step is another steering committee update in late May and continuing with our community engagement activities also in late May. And that's it for planning and development. Thank you.
Right. Any questions on planning and development? Nope. All right. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ellis. 7.2, Community Services and SCSS. There she is. Right on time. Yes. So, actually, I was just doing a quick count in my head. We're only 14, okay.
Good morning, council. How's everyone? Yeah,
Perfect.
that's good. That's good.
How are you?
Just doing fine, thank you.
Perfect.
Yep. Oh, 4 feet. Just want to provide an update on what's going on with our response to the COVID-19 situation. Certainly, as I've mentioned, our FCSS department has been very busy. Provided a bit of an update last week with council on a conference call, but just want to provide a few more things. The MAT program, of course, for the homeless shelter, we received that $87,000 grant for the next 3 months to deal with addressing that homeless situation. Currently, with the MAP program, we are having 7 people on a regular basis. We anticipate that with the day program, there could be up to 18 people attending that program. And we are, of course, working closely with the health inspector, Adam Jansen, to work on a location for the day program. We do have a local church that has offered the location, and so we're just working through the logistics in terms of insurance and liability, as well as safety measures. The community outreach program still working very well with IGA and Jocelyn's Independent in terms of the grocery delivery. 35 volunteers are there. We haven't had a need to increase the use of those volunteers for any other efforts, but we're ready to do so if we're ever called upon. We have established a 24/7 information line, and unfortunately, just because of some of the deficiencies with technology, we can't use the current FCSS line, but we do have a new number, so it's 780-202-3154. We will be sharing that everywhere that we possibly can, and that will start up tomorrow. That is not necessarily a hotline for everybody to come forward and receive all the information, but certainly for referrals and just as a necessary contact. People know FCSS, and so this is just an opportunity to stay in touch with FCSS during the weekends and the off hours. I mentioned that the FCSS SSS, which stands for the FCSS Social Services Support Program that the province has put together. We do have 8 applications that were submitted with all the different partners. Municipalities aren't necessarily eligible, but our own FCSS department can make its application on its own. But the Ministry of Community and Social Services has offered that funding for these organizations to help out wherever they can. And so there are 8 different local organizations that have submitted applications. We haven't heard back on any of those applications to date. So it was supposed to be a very rapid turnaround with respect to the approval basis, because it's a fairly simple application process, but has not happened yet. Our FCSS Home Support Program has been changed, that it's no in-house visits at this time, so it's just simply maintaining communication support and coordinating any sort of delivery of groceries. So that's just the update. And every time we put out a piece of information, we have to change it again because, of course, there's always changes with the way the funding programs are. So we're going to make sure that when we send out something, we put a last updated date on it so that we know what has, what's new and what's from the previous week. All in all, though, again, too, people are reaching out, and certainly what we're hearing from within the community, people are helping out, organizations are helping out, and businesses are helping out. And some of the new things, even with the Community Foundation, it's just a great thing to see. Just very quickly to the other items, ECDC, it might not mean much in terms of value, but we received a $500 Emerald Foundation grant, and it was meant to be for field trips, for the children to go to field trips in Eagle Point, Blue Rapids. So instead, the Emerald Foundation has allowed us to use that to provide EPPR with, they'll purchase a GoPro camera, and they'll do some great videos out in the woods and in nature itself, and then we can send that out to all of the families. So it's just a different way of doing things in terms of the support and continuing service to our community. Council is aware that we put out an RFP for playgrounds and parks and had 10 submissions, so yesterday was quite the day going through all of those proposals, but we'll narrow it down and then hopefully take a look at how we can, after the capital budget is approved, be able to move forward on our playground revitalization. We also received 5 submissions for the pump track. We'll talk a bit about that further with the GMP. I also mentioned that we received all the necessary funding for the specialized transportation, so we are looking at the purchase of a handy fan very soon, as well as we have an RFP that's being prepared that will go out to allow people to bid on providing that service. So while it will be a product owned by the town, it will be a lease of an operation. So that's rolling very nicely. And we also have an opportunity to apply for an additional grant for what we're hoping can be rent assistance program through ARDN. So they did receive some federal funding. So while the $87,000 came for it provincially, this is federal funding. We're hoping we can get access to help out with those who are at near or at risk of being homeless with a rent assistance program. And that's my report.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on community services, FCSS? Councillor Gamana.
Just a question about the hotline and, not a hotline, the phone number and the, CERB and EI, people, the community members are applying for them and some having issues getting through to the website or their credentials not working, and, I've managed to help a couple, but I think there's some who's struggling to apply. So I was wondering if there's anything that, in that front, that we can do to help.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Gamana. Certainly FCSS, while we're not in a position to necessarily help out with each individual one, there are individuals who don't have access to the internet or onto computers, so we are providing some assistance that way. The CURB program, of course, has changed because now the province is saying take a look at the federal funding. So again, these are the updates. We just finished one last week. We have to change it again this week. So it's that constant information that we try to get out to the community members. Certainly for seniors, we do a lot of assistance through FCSS on things such as the senior benefits, old age security, et cetera. So if they were to call in, we can help direct them. Okay?
Right, any other questions? All right, thank you very much for your update. 7.3, emergency services, Mr. Russo.
Mayor, Mr. Tom Thompson has advised that he has nothing to contribute this morning, status quo, nothing that has happened that is noteworthy to talk about, so he's asked to be excused, please.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much for that. 7.4, safety and protective services, Mr. Clausen.
Good morning. Just a few quick updates on the bylaw and protective services. In March, we saw a fairly significant increase in the number of calls, and this week it's dropped off to, touch wood, nothing. Most of them were animal control and nuisance calls, unsightly properties, and I think a lot of it is to do with everybody staying home now. They're seeing what's going on and how many dogs are run across their yard and that. So we have dealt with all of those, and that has settled right down and carrying on. On the safety side, everybody is working and adapting to the social distancing. It has changed how we do some of our meetings, our toolbox meetings, inspections, things like that. There is a new format for audits. This year we had we're required to do a certifying audit. And because of all this social distancing and that, they're changing the rules to do just a documentation-only audit, which should work quite easily for us. We have to bring in an external auditor, but we'll give them everything we have for documentation is on our Safety Sync program. So it'd be a matter of them just clicking through there and going through that. The only change on that is it's only good for 1 year rather than a 3-year. So in 2021, we will have to do another certifying audit, a full scope audit. And we've also been very busy with all the departments, especially NET's department with orientations for all the different volunteers, reviews, inspections of the different things that are going on to make sure that they are being compliant with all the mitigation efforts for COVID-19. And then on emergency management, I get updates from the POC twice a day, and if there's anything new or different, I get a hold of the required people, update them, but for the most part, it's everything that this group here already knows. We do bi-weekly conferences with the Provincial Operations Center, and again, if there's anything new in that, I'll transfer the information. On the personal protective equipment, the POC is organizing everything for the province, and they're concentrating on healthcare workers, and then they're going to first responders and that, and then also with the shelters, homeless, things like that. So I haven't had any big requests yet from, we put in one order already, we're still waiting for that. But as the requests come in, we send that into the Provincial Operations Center, and they prioritize and send out accordingly to what they think is the emergent need. And then I also am doing bi-weekly calls with our public health officer, updating me on what's going on. He's done, last week he had a few complaints about businesses still open. There was one fitness place still open. The person just didn't know. He says they only have 2 or 3 people at a time, so he didn't think it applied to him, but he has complied now, and that one is closed. And then I also have weekly calls with representative from the Alberta Health Regional Emergency Operations Center. And again, if there's anything, and that's basically to do with the hospital and that. And if there's any changes or requests, then I will pass those on. And that is the report.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? All right, thank you very much for your report.
Now, I would like to say that there are a lot of people wanting to know why we haven't opened our EOC, and it's because this group is handling it operationally, and there's a huge difference between managing pandemics and what you guys are doing than managing an emergency, because you guys are dealing with it as it comes in, and a lot of it is organizational. With an emergency, there's an event, and then we clean it up. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, 7.5 is the CAO, Administrative Update and Capital Project Update.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll start with the engineering side update first. So all our capital projects have been advertised to date, so that means 18th Avenue, some of the skin patching that was done last year, the ones at the ECDC, the pool area, that patch there, and then the one north on 43rd. We've also just advertised the landfill, the cell, the new cell, so that tender is running as we speak. Then the existing projects such as 62nd Street and the South Sanitary Sewer, we're getting into the paperwork side because of the delays that happened last year. So we're getting all the contractual side sorted out while we're waiting for the weather to cooperate with us so we can get back into action. That being said, we also, from the operational side, all our equipment has been made ready for sweeping. We're doing catch basin repairs. One of the items of note, though, pothole patching has been a challenge, of course, just because the weather's been playing up and down. However, we are out there trying to make the best of it. However, it's not according to what I would call a good standard right now. So Rick and I have talked about this earlier this week, and they're supposed to be out there in some of the areas that is not acceptable right now. So we're working on getting that fixed. Going forward with council sort of getting Drayton Valley to Work approach, one of the things that we are going to be looking at is not just to do pothole patching, but is to do patch repairs, meaning cut it out into a square or a diamond shape and fix it properly, because we have the time, we're going to have the resources, and not go back to it again, forward and backwards. In terms of some good news, we managed to secure a water plant manager, which is, you may say, why is that good news? Well, it is, because we've got environmental requirements that needs to be adhered to, even though we are within the limitations of what we should be operating at. But without a manager, you can look forward and you can plan and get the people sort of managed. And so that group has been without a dedicated leader for almost 9 to 10 months now. As somebody put it to me, that finding a utility manager is like finding a purple unicorn, and I'm believing that's true, because it took us quite a bit. I will commend our HR department for having come up with an initiative, say, wherever, let's go to the APWA, what do they call it, the Water Association. Yeah. So they went to the conference, and they actually had all these utility managers there. So we actually gave them a $500 budget and says, entertain these gentlemen. And here, if they'd like to come to Drayton Valley, we had 2 people that showed interest. And one of them is coming from the Lesser Slave River area. And where the CAO said, very sad to lose him, we're getting a good guy. So that's the good news. May the 4th, he's on board. But through that process of not having had a manager, we stayed very close with Alberta Environment, and they've copied me on most things, so there's nothing undue about any concerns about water. There's some maintenance things that we can definitely do better at the plant. This will all come into play once our gentleman is onboarded and finds his feet. With the Easter weekend coming up, Council, we have a plan in place for standby folks. All of us, of course, will be in town, so that's going to be good so that we can act at a moment's notice. And so that plan has been put in place as well. Our lead hand in the Public Works has had to have some minor surgery, maybe not too minor after all, and he will be back next week, Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. So we kind of short one person, but it's not causing operational concerns, and he's doing well in his recovery. So that's the update on the engineering side of things. Just on the CAO side, I think more about COVID. Merlin has walked you through quite a bit. I have no further updates other than saying that our staff is holding up relatively well. There has been no new cases for them going into isolation. Matt Ellis has come back out of isolation yesterday. We've got 2 folks still in isolation, our engineering EIT, and Asia, our coordinator for energy. Fingers crossed that we won't see any person having to go, but we're on full tilt. And the other thing too is we're using our staff more in a capacity where we're doing more with less. And as you know, that most of our facilities, if not all of them, are now shut down, and we're doing some maintenance work. And when that ebbs out, then we'll have to relook at things again. But for now, I think we're in relatively good shape. It could change by the hour, but all hands on deck. Debbie, did I miss anything? Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Any questions for administration? All right, thank you very much. That moves us on to our council reports, starting with Councillor Peebles.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just given everything that's been going on with the COVID crisis, we've spent the majority of our time just focusing on how to deal with this. None of us have ever been through a pandemic before, but I've really appreciated how well our team has responded and tried to figure this out, because none of us have ever been through this. So I just appreciated the grace the community has shown, that we've been showing to each other on this team, as emotions can get high at times, but you guys are doing a great job. Just great to see everybody kind of pulling together. And just remember, don't speak moistly onto other people.
Oh, Mr. Trudeau. All right, that is everything from you. Deputy Mayor Dodds.
I don't have a joke, nor did I get my hair cut. Yeah, just the same since our last council meeting. We've just been really focused on discussions around the COVID-19 and the safety and the well-being of the community. All the things that we can possibly do to alleviate some of the stresses that are associated with all of this. Following provincial and federal guidelines, of course, and just a big thanks to our administration again for all your hard work and perseverance through all of this. It's been a little bit trying. And with that, I've just had a few other meetings. I've had a library board meeting, homelessness and poverty reduction meeting, and several discussions, of course, with FCSS, with everything that's kind of been happening there. The funding, of course, for the COVID-19, that was the $30 million grant that was funneled through FCSS, which is amazing, and it spoke to, I think there was 8 or 9 applications that had come through, so that's quite exciting. And then I just wanted to make a note on the $30 million for the homelessness and housing. That was supposed to, well, anticipated that it would go to the 7 urban centers. So we were quite fortunate that we got just over $87,000 to come here to the community. So that's exciting. So of course, the committee and everybody is working as fast as they can to try to get this pulled together in a short amount of time. So that's exciting. So hopefully in the next, week or so, shouldn't say week, but hopefully in the next soon future, we'll see that the program will be up and running for 24 hours a day, and that's supposed to be anticipated for the next 3 months. So that's exciting to see that coming up. And yeah, that's just it for me. As everything kind of changes on a continuing basis, we're just kind of keeping with the flow.
All right, thank you for that. Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just echo the other 2 councillors. I guess, we are in a unprecedented situation now. We haven't faced this before. And, like they mentioned, the administration is doing a great job. FCSS is doing a fantastic job. I had a chat with Lola a couple of weeks ago and last week as well, and, how much they are taken onto themselves and trying to do the best they can. So, that's very commendable. And the communication, and Jen, your post was great. And, that shows not only the town, but also the community. We have to thank the whole community, how the community getting together to face this unknown enemy that we are facing, and how the community is adhering to all the guidelines that given by HS and all that, and that's why we have 0 cases so far. We have to continue this for hopefully a few more weeks, and hopefully we'll come out of this as winners without any cases in our community. there's a couple of events that I've attended. One, I guess the conference call with Mr. Soroka the other day. We had a good chat about the situation that everybody's in and going forward, what we can do. And also conference call with FCSS funding and how the non-profit organizations can apply for those funding as well. So, and that's out there. There's $30 million, I believe, that's they are for funding for organizations that they can apply. If they haven't applied, I think it's better they get contact with FCSS and apply for those. Other than that, I guess our CEO mentioned about May the 4th, and we have a new facility manager. So I'm just going to say May the 4th be with us, and we'll come out of this. Thank you.
Well, Councillor Peebles, you got trumped on your ending joke. All right, Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. For me, I'd echo the same comments as everyone, that we're really just all in this together, and that it's change for everyone, and change can be hard, but I think if we just keep working together, there is no borders with a disease like this, and that we all need to be reaching out as much as possible to everyone. And as a municipality, I think we've been doing a lot of that, staying connected to other municipalities, other levels of government, to see what's going on and what's happening, and that we need the communication as much as anyone else. So if anyone has ideas in the community or things going on, they want to give us a call or let us know or suggest something, we are definitely open to that. So, thank you.
Is that a report or a statement? Councillor Ballas.
Thank you. I can only echo previous council's comments as well, and give my personal thanks to not only administration, but the rest of the council here for working diligently and really thinking of our community. And I think the results have so far been very positive. And I think the outlook in our community right now is positive as well. And I think because council and administration took a lead, giving comfort to the people, and I thank everyone for that.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Ballas. So that just leaves my report. As for meetings that occurred, many of the meetings I had scheduled have been canceled. In the first 2 weeks, I was, since the last council meeting, I was actually in quarantine. So that was an interesting experience. If anyone has 3 small children, quarantine is the last thing you want to be in right now. But I've survived, and hopefully I'm a better man for it. But as everyone mentioned, obviously it's an interesting time. A lot of the meetings we've had over the past few weeks have been phone calls, and most of the conversation has been around the COVID-19 pandemic that is surrounding us, and a conversation on how we want to move forward as a community. There has been a lot of good conversation, and I do appreciate administration's time in listening to all of our thoughts and trying to put some of that down in coherent words. And I think as we move forward, this council certainly has the best interest of everyone in our community in mind, and even, as a regional area, we're looking at finding ways that we can make it better for everyone. So we need to keep working hard, keep having those discussions, and I know as we move into our final budget, there will be more that we can report for our community, and we're looking to help get our residents back to work, and looking for hopefully greener pastures, possibly mid-June, depending on what model you want to look at from the provincial government. So I'm looking for the best case, and I still think even their best case is probably a little bit doom and gloom, but I think it'll be better, and yeah, we'll wait for those better times when we can go into McDonald's instead of just driving through the drive-through. So with that, I will go to our information items, 9.1, which is Sustainability Committee Meeting Notes, February 18th, 2020. 9.2, which is the Brazeau Foundation Meeting Minutes, February 20th, 2020. 9.3, Drayton Valley RCMP Stats, February 2020. Could I get a councillor to make a motion? Councillor Dodds, all in favor, accepting those for information? That is carried, and we will adjourn our meeting at 10:02 a.m.